I think many Europeans forget how much responsibility Poland has taken in this difficult situation. Cooperation between Finland and Poland is close, and we agreed to further strengthen our dialogue. We will intensify our cooperation in the area of security and defense, as well as investment in defense, in line with NATO's goals. We will increase our opportunities for cooperation in the future. It is a great privilege and a great honor that you are here with us.
President Donald Trump's decision to leave American troops in Poland is good news for the whole region of Central Europe, for the Baltic states, for the Nordic states, and this also indicates our relations in the North Atlantic Alliance. We talked to the President. The President is open, and I would also like to thank him for expanding the Bucharest Formula 9.
Mr. President, you are a great golfer. I think it helps in diplomacy. How do you want to transfer these good relations to the good of the entire region, the entire eastern flank? How can this be done even better?
Thank you for the question. I think that diplomatic relations are usually built on two pillars. The first pillar is history, values, interests, geographic affinity, alliances in general. And I feel that the relationship between the United States and Finland has been strong throughout our history. I myself personally always had a very close transatlantic view because of my past. I studied in the United States. I lived in the United States. However, the other pillar, the second pillar, is personal relations. And I think that often it is not only literature about international relations, but also in public discourse, that element is underestimated. That is why I think it is very important that no matter which leader of the world I talk to, it is important that I establish close relations with him. I find myself in a fortunate situation that I managed to spend a lot of time with the President of the United States. The first issue is the constant purchases of oil and gas from Russia by several European countries. I am thinking about Slovakia and Hungary. I think that needs to end. We need to use all the opportunities to put pressure on the Russian economy. We need to stop the purchase of Russian gas and oil from Russia. This is one way of doing it. Another way is to use the frozen assets that Europe has in one form or another. The other issue that we discussed and that we proposed was sanctions. And as a result of that conversation that we had today, as has been announced by the President of the United States, a delegation from Europe was sent to discuss how we can coordinate either direct sanctions or secondary sanctions.
I would like to remind you that there are 10,000 soldiers and 7,000 uniformed officers at the Polish borders today. This shows the border guards, and also shows how much pressure we are under today as a country that is part of a hybrid war. Therefore, I do not intend to express my consent to the participation of Polish soldiers on a trip to Ukraine. At the same time, I declare, of course, and I say this in all conversations with my partners, to be clear. I said it in Lithuania, I said it in Italy, I said it in the United States. I repeat it also in Finland, in Poland. Of course, the coalition of volunteers and the whole free world can count on it. Today we showed that we are ready to help, and this will not change in the coming months, in the coming years, until long-term peace. However, the participation of the Polish army in Ukraine, from my perspective, is excluded. There is no such need. I also talked to President Zelensky and asked what the clear, unambiguous declarations of the Western European countries look like for the participation of these troops in Ukraine. Well, as far as I know, there are no clear declarations of Western countries as to what military component could go to Ukraine. I think that in this respect, I repeat it regularly, Western countries have the priority to send their components to Poland, to the Baltic states, to Finland, to the Nordic states. But of course, this is an individual decision of all heads of state. As for Prime Minister Donald Tusk, I agree with the President that for the United States, regardless of who is the head of the Polish government, who is the Polish President, for the United States, Poland will always be, I believe, a very important partner. However, I also said it publicly, Prime Minister Donald Tusk should not speak in this way about the President of the United States. He approached the American nation in this way because this is how Americans look at their president. This kind of thing should not happen. I consider it a great, inconspicuous behavior of Polish politics that harms Poland. But fortunately, Mr. Editor-in-Chief, ladies and gentlemen, in Poland and the United States, there is a kind of consensus in which the President of Poland represents Poland in the United States. And I will do everything to take care of our good relations, regardless of this inconspicuous, unnecessary situation that President Donald Tusk provoked.